it's I, Wacky Anime What Ifs. Today I'm going to do what if Subaru had the Predator skill, but no access to Great Sage. Okay, so Subaru, he was a kid, like right when he was born, no abnormalities whatsoever. His parents were actually like enjoying the fact that they have a kid now. The doctor came in and said he's a little different. His DNA is kind of, like jumbled up. So there might be some birth defects. And they were like, he's our son, we'll just accept him anyway. So he was, when he was a kid, growing up, he was really smart. He already knew pretty much the entire alphabet right when he was only just a few months old. Right when he was able to talk, he basically learned immediately about the alphabet. He pieced it together. He was pretty smart. So he had the whole normal life until he was 4. When he was the age of 4, his parents took him to Six Flags. He was super excited. While they were driving, they ended up all talking together and stuff. His parents asked Subaru, what does he want to be when he grows up? And Subaru said, I want to be a hero. And they were like, that's cute. That's cute, Subaru. Like, they were, saying that was pretty cute. And he was, like, really excited because he thought that a hero was an actual occupation in his world. It was not. So they basically said that a hero is not a realistic job, though. And then he said he wanted to be a police officer or firefighter, I guess. Yeah. Like, he seemed so bummed out, and they were like... They were thinking in their mind, that's just adorable, because he was, like, pouting and stuff. It was very funny. So they decided to go to Six Flags. They finally got pulled up to Six Flags. They went up to the actual, counter, and decided to get their tickets. The dad paid for their tickets, got a whole season pass. They went up towards, the entrance of Six Flags. They saw a lot of different stuff. They saw some mascots, which Subaru was literally just walking up to the mascots asking for photos. And Subaru was like a really cute kid at this point. So they were like, everyone like looked at him like he was adorable as shit. They basically gave him tons of pictures. They had like tons of selfies. Yeah, the parents were laughing. They had a good time. All the way up until they went to Daredevil Dive. Yeah, Subaru was like too scared to get on the roller coaster. So his parents went in with him. This is before they had any precautions, really. In this universe, they didn't have any precautions like, height and stuff. No precautions like that. The thing is, he had this little thing of slime he won from an arcade game. Like, if he beat the arcade game, he'd get this little barrel of slime. And while he was riding, he was playing with the slime because he was nervous. And when he went all the way upwards onto the roller coaster, when it was going all the way up, and it was going right down, like going straight down from the momentum, the slime literally flew out of his hands and went into his mouth. He actually swallowed some of it. And when the actual roller coaster went off the railing, because there was a malfunction with the actual roller coaster, and part of the track was already cracking, so it completely broke, and they just got launched. Everyone on that roller coaster got launched away. They flew. Yeah, they all hit the ground. All of them died except for Subaru. He turned into a slime and just bounced up. Instinctively turned into a slime. Everyone was looking at him like he was a fucking monster. They all said, that monster must have killed all of them. They just threw stuff at them. You could see parents crying because their kids were on that roller coaster. And they immediately, started throwing it at Subaru. And Subaru went back to his human form, and all this was hitting him. And he was saying, I'm not a monster. But they really did not care what he looked like. all they saw was a monster in their eyes. And then the security team showed up and said, "What's the problem here? Why are you guys throwing all this at the kid?" And they said, "That's not a kid, that's a damn monster. He turned into some type of slime liquid thing." And then the security team literally looked at him and was like, "There's no way." So they took the kid, they grabbed him really strongly by the wrist, and they went all the way to the security camera, and they had him watching what happened too, because he was in the other room, but he snuck in to see what was going to happen to him now, since his parents were dead, but he was still in tears. The entire time he was in tears. And then they literally looked at the security camera, they said, "This, you see here, when the roller coaster ended up malfunctioning, and that railing broke, everyone got flung out, but somehow this kid survived. We see that he turned into some type of pure black slime right when he hit the ground. That must have impacted his fall," is what one of them said. The other one says, "How do we neutralize him? That's the monster humanity. There is no way that we're gonna end up letting that thing live," is what one of the security guards suggested. Everyone else said, "But that's a kid." They said, "Yeah, that's a monster kid. No one in this world can do anything like this. Not even animals. We do not need this kid to literally spread the word that Six Flags had all these monsters. We'll be out of business." They were all thinking this, and Subaru was listening in. He bolted. They heard him running. They all chased him. They started trying to shoot him. The security team did. One of them did. Other security guards were trying to stop him because it was still a kid. But yeah, he shot Subaru right in the actual shoulder. Right in the shoulder blade. And Subaru was like fucking still bolting from adrenaline. He felt the pain. And he was so scared. When he ran out, they all saw that it was the same kid. They all chased him. Yeah, they were trying to beat the kid mercilessly. He ran out of Six Flags. Literally just ran out of Six Flags, kept on running, and then he went to a forest. He decided to just live in a forest for the rest of his life. Because he realized after he tested his ability in the forest, when he turned into a slime and consumes stuff, he gets their abilities, and it also helps him with his hunger. So he could pretty much eat anything, is what he thought. So for the next years until, he was 10, he was eating animals after animals. He ate a whole bear at one point. He got the claws from the bear. And he was pretty excited about this because he could actually hunt for fish now, because fish were way too fast for him. So his speed, reflexes, all that increased. He had numerous skills. He also had the skill of a crab because there was a crab in the forest somehow. Like this kid had a crab and threw it into the forest, saying that they didn't actually need the crab anymore because they got a dog apparently. That one family was just left. And Subaru just devoured the fucking crab. He had the hard shell, so he can harden his skin too. After all this happened, he literally had an entire hut and everything. He built a hut from straws, wood. Yeah. He made his own huts. He made some tools, some stone tools. He carved them out of his claws. And he just was very excited when he did that. It was like his best feat yet, is what he thought. So he slept in the hut. But then he realized that when the rain started, the hut was tearing apart. Like the actual straw was tearing apart. Like it was just leaking through. So he decided to, try to find a cave then. Because the entire thing fell apart. The wood wasn't really structured well. So he just tried to find a cave. He found a cave, yes, but the thing that was in the cave was a mountain lion, and he was like, oh no. He started running out of pure fear. His instincts were telling him to run. He was no match for that right now. Because the only reason why he got the bear was because, well, even though he doesn't have great sage, he does have the actual instincts of a slime. Well, not a slime. He has the instincts, though. And those kicked in and saved his ass. That and the fact that the bear was already in a weakened state because of hunters. Just so you know, that's what happened. So, he was running from the mountain lion. The mountain lion was right on his ass. Fucking scratched him in the back. He had an entire giant scar on his back. From that one experience with that mountain lion. It scratched him in the back. He fucking rolled over. Like, he fell down, rolled over, trying to get away from the mountain lion. Mountain lion was right on top of him, crushing him. Then he decided to just turn into a slime. He tried to devour the mountain lion. Mountain lion just fucking bitch slapped him with his paw. Just bitch slapped him. And he just went flying a little. That was not no normal mountain lion. That mountain lion was experimented on. But Subaru did not know this. So he just started fucking bolting. Like bolting in his slime form. And he finally got away from the mountain lion. He was stuck in the rain though. So he decided to just sleep in his slime form. So he does this. And, well, the entire time, the rain finally stops. He gets out. He's like, I'm just going to go ahead and try to live in the city, I guess. So, just so you know, he's completely nude now. Because all of his clothes were completely scratched off, really. Or, like, torn. So he's almost nude. He goes into the city. And everyone's like, there's a naked kid over there. And then they, like, try to call the police and stuff. And as soon as Subaru hears the police, he just dips. Like, right when he's in the entrance of the city, he just runs past. Just starts climbing buildings and stuff. Like a fucking rabbit would. He just hops like a rabbit up the buildings. Everyone looks at him and was like, oh my god, he's really good at parkour. Is what some people say. And some people say, oh, that's pretty impressive. They're not thinking he's, you know, a monster or anything, because he hasn't really turned into a slime or anything. And they thought he just had really good acrobatics. He ended up constantly, you know, wandering around until this one guy decided to take him in. Because when he was in the slums, let's just say there were some unsavourable people. There was 5 people that looked at him. Yeah. They were like, we're gonna get a piece of that kid, and he did not want that at all. He was already scared because he was having flashbacks about, you know, the time at Six Flags. Yeah, they all looked at him with malicious intent, and right when they were about to charge him, Subaru instinctively just rabbit kicked them. He just kicked them so hard that they fucking flew backwards. Yeah, he dazed them. Just from one kick, he dazed one of them. Other one pulled out a knife. He literally grabbed the guy's wrist, twisted it, kicked him in the nuts, and then flipped him. And then the other one was like, hey kid, you might be able to go against that guy with the knife over there, John, but you can't go against me. And let's go ahead and say he was Dave, okay? He pulls out a gun and tries to shoot him, and Subaru was really quick and managed to dodge, just barely. It had a scratch across his actual cheek, and he literally just turned his actual hands into a whole bear's hand, and just fucking slashed him in half. Out of pure instinct of his life. And then he decided to kill the rest of them, and he actually consumed them. Because he was already used to consuming all of his enemies. Because when he was in the forest, the only thing that he had to eat was whatever was there. He didn't care what it was. And at this point, he really just doesn't care. He'll consume pretty much anything that gets in his way, or he has more of the Hajime personality with that. It's more of his ideology from Ari Freta. So this guy is watching, and thinks he would make a perfect, like just a perfect, assassin. So he just takes him in, and let's just go ahead and say the guy's name is Corvo. If you know what the reference is, pretty cool. So Corvo takes him in. They walk out of the alleyway, which the alleyway was right next to a few convenience stores, if you want to know. So yeah, he gives Subaru some clothes. He ends up teaching him how to shoot guns and all that stuff. Subaru ends up accidentally eating one of the guns, and yeah, Corvo is already used to this and starts laughing a little. They have a really good time. He was like a mentor figure for Subaru, more like a dad figure. So they always hung out and stuff. He enrolled him into school. Corvo felt really bad for Subaru. They always ended up hanging out. They got on a deep emotional level. Because Corvo always saved his ass whenever he, turned into a slime or something. Basically just went up in front of everyone and said, hey, this is just a magic trick, everyone. It's parlor effects, obviously. And then they just all believed it because, it's the age where electronics and stuff are used. It could be a parlor effect. I mean, they've seen, people bend spoons with their mind, apparently. Or, people walk on strings and look like they're flying, so... Yeah, they basically just did that. So Subaru always used that excuse whenever he did anything. Yeah, they ended up doing assassin missions together. He had to assassinate some Dons, some Godfathers, and Corvo went in with them. Okay, so he was about 15 at this age, okay? When he was 15, he went in, and he was undercover. He was their best executioner. Whenever someone needed to get taken out, he was called the executioner, because he immediately did it, without hesitation. There was no remorse in his eyes. They always admired him because he immediately dispatched them. They don't know how he dispatched them, though, but all they ever saw was a huge bloody mess. Yeah, so Subaru was a really deep undercover. Corvo ended up saying, on his actual con speaker, because Subaru had a con speaker in his ear the entire time. He ended up saying now, right when he saw the boss. So he literally just jumped in front of the boss and fucking impaled him with a bear claw. And the boss and everyone else was shocked, and they were like, what the fuck is that thing? Then he turned into a giant slime and spread across everyone, just piercing them with slime tentacles, because he ate an octopus, and he decided to go ahead and add in the knife, the sharpness of the knife when he was a kid. Just pierced all of them with slime tentacles. He fucking chopped their heads off, all that. He killed 35 men that were in there by just doing this repetitively. And then he was on a cooldown from using his abilities too long, so he went back to his human form. And yeah, about 50 people came with swords and guns and everything. And he was like, ah, shit. He just tapped on his actual comm and said, Corvo, I'm gonna need you. Corvo just bust in from the ceiling. The window from the ceiling just busts in like Batman. He just fucking pulls out his blades, his actual hidden blades, just fucking slashes all of them. Just slashes 3 of them right in the neck, and they're literally bleeding out to death. He does that in an instant of him breaking in. He literally goes up towards one of them, punches them in the nose so hard that it breaks it. Then he presses 4 pressure points simultaneously, and then he's already down. He snaps another guy's neck with a kick. He kicks him, and the kick missed him, and the guy was like, oh, your kick missed, Corvo. And then he just moved his leg back behind his neck, and then he just fucking moved it to the side and snapped his neck. And then while all that's happening, Corvo's fighting about 25 of them. Subaru's fighting the other 25? Yeah. All a Subaru does is just rushes them and punches and kicks. all he does is really this. He's just relying on pure strength. And then he just finds a knife. He just picks up the knife, literally just starts spinning it in his hand, running up towards him. Yeah, this guy with the katana, who was known to, strike complete pillars down with one swing, tried to do the same to Subaru. Subaru literally just blocked it with that little knife. And he was really good with knife skills. They were like dueling, basically. And no one else wanted to get involved, because anyone around the guy with the katana, let's just name him Sakazuki. Anyone around Sakazuki would literally just get fucked up. Like, if you were around him, you just get sliced in half, and he wouldn't give a fuck. Because his entire deal was he just wanted to join the mafia to just kill people. He was a huge serial killer. He was more infamous than Jack the Ripper at this point. He literally, if you ever got near him while he was fighting, you get slashed in half because of his wide movements. Subaru was having some great deal of difficulty until he decided to kick the chair that was next to him. Because this is still the, boss room, like where all the dons and all that stuff were gathered. He just kicks the chair right in front of him. And then Sakazuki just kicks it right back. And Subaru just fucking slashes the chair into little pieces. And then makes one sharp stake out of the chair in an instant. And then he just punches the stake right towards Sakazuki. Sakazuki literally is trying to dodge. As soon as he dodges, Subaru already has the knife right down towards his temple. Just fucking stabs him right in the temple. And then Sakazuki is still alive a little. So he just tries to slash him. And right when he tries to slash Subaru just barely dodges and has a huge scar in the front of his chest. Because he can't really heal. He didn't really eat anything that could heal. Like, how everyone else would. And he still has a human body. So, whenever he consumes a human body, he gets their skills, but he always has his original form still. Because unlike Rimuru, he wasn't reincarnated or anything. He was born with the ability. He already has a physical body. So Subaru, after he killed Sakazuki, he was like, fuck, I got another scar. And everyone else was like, are you serious? You're just worried about a scar? You could just get fucking cut in half. They were thinking about that in their mind. And they realized they gotta get the fuck out of here. They start trying to run, and he's like, no you don't. And he literally goes up towards one of the dead actual, gang members, grabs their Uzi and starts firing. He just fucking wipes out half of them with just, like, one Uzi. With one Uzi spray, that's all it took. Wiped out half of them. And, like, the rest of them, like, there's only 9 of them now. Yeah. They just like, you know what, we're just gonna go out with a bang. They start running up towards him. They start trying to beat the shit out of him. And they're actually jumping him. Because Subaru's really exhausted. They're literally punching him, kicking him. One of them's like, you know what, I'm gonna do this. Gum, punch! And then everyone's like, what? Why would you do that? This isn't an anime. Why are you trying to imitate that? He's like, I thought it would be funny. He's like, they're just looking at him like he's stupid. And Subaru's also doing the same. He's like, and instead he's like, you stupid. He just says it out loud. Everyone's like, yeah, let's go ahead and jump his ass. They're just jumping him. And Corvo's like already finished his side. Because his side really wasn't full of that many strong people. And didn't have anyone like Sakazuki. Didn't have anyone like him. So Corvo just saw him getting jumped. Just rushed in and chopped off their heads. In one swift strike, just chopped off all 9 of their heads. And then he just helped Subaru up, and he said, why were you getting jumped? You have literal superpowers. I don't even have superpowers. I'm just doing it with just pure skill. And then Subaru was like, shut the fuck up. You were in this way longer than I was, and you didn't have to fight against this motherfucker with a katana. Then he looked at Sakazuki, he's like, oh, you fought the legendary Sakazuki? He's been killing for around 50 years. And the thing is, the authorities, everyone knows him, but he's the type of person that literally slashed a tank in half. With just pure skill of the katana. How are you... I don't even know how you're alive, other than your abilities. And Subaru was like, actually, I didn't use any of my abilities. And then Corvo was like, really in shock. He just tapped him on the shoulder. He was like, I'm proud of you, son. And he's like, I'm not your son, old man. And he's like, whatever you say, son. And they're like just laughing and stuff, and they like go out for pizza. You just see all this manslaughter behind them. They don't even think about cleaning it up. And so Corvo was like, wait, we forgot about something. They just like lit a match and just threw it in. And Subaru was like, I could just ate the bodies. And then Corvo was like, don't you remember when you overate before and you couldn't eat for a whole month? You nearly died from starvation? Because Subaru has a cooldown on his ability. Whenever he eats too much, he can't eat for a certain limited time. This is what happened when he tried to eat an entire whale that you saw at, in the ocean, when they were doing a mission to assassinate this one rich guy on the yacht. Yeah, he tried to eat a whale. He couldn't eat for a whole month. Well, he got the abilities of the whale, but still, couldn't eat for a whole month. Or use his predator ability. So he kind of screwed himself. Yeah, and then he was like, yeah, you're right, Corvo. So they go out, they get some steak. They're like eating at this fancy restaurant. Because they like eating at fancy restaurants. Subaru always wears an actual, suit and tie. And Subaru is more of a lady charmer. He's had like 7 girls, always has like multiple girlfriends. Mainly, whenever he breaks up with one of them, he always eats another one like right after usually. He's kind of like a smooth operator. He uses that in missions mostly. Like he has to get close to a female target and get them out into a different area so they can cleanly assassinate. Yeah, so Subaru and Corvo are hanging out, and all of a sudden, Subaru like looks into his glass of wine, because he's drinking like at this age of 15. He's already drinking. He looks at the wine, and then he sees a little glint from the building across the street, and he's like, Corvo, get down! It's a sniper! The sniper already shot Corvo in the head. And Subaru was devastated. He got down on the ground and literally looked up towards Corvo and said, Corvo, you'll be fine, we can get you to a hospital. And then Corvo's like, you can't get me to a hospital for this. Subaru, just don't do any more assassinations. It was wrong of me to do that, to make you do all this. Just do whatever you want. Just be you. Don't try to be something like me. And then Subaru's in tears, literally holding Corvo, and Corvo just passes away. So he ends up, taking Corvo's body out with him. He didn't want to actually consume the body because he wanted to give him proper burial. So he just took it out with him, and he literally just jumped across where the sniper was. He used actual panther legs, jumped across, and then he used actual eagle wings. And he just flew towards where the sniper was, grabbed the sniper by the head, and literally just tore his head off. With the cheetah claws. And he was just very upset. So even when he tore the head off, he just started slicing into the body. He's not giving a fuck no more about who saw him do this. Because everyone literally was looking at him from across the building, like right where the restaurant was. And they just saw how much destruction he did. And then the news helicopter saw, and they saw his actual freakish ability, his human features, and they aired it on TV. So everyone, the government, all of them were after him. He literally was on the run for years, until he was 18 and the government cornered him. They found out where he was, and he was all the way in the desert, just so you know. Like, nothing but like a little house there. He was living there. He had Corvo buried there too. Because Corvo always said that he wanted to be buried in a quiet place with no noise. That was his entire life's goal. Yeah. So, he always wanted a quiet life. But Corvo never really got that because of how he was raised as an assassin. So, yeah, they finally found out where Subaru was, and they cornered him. They found him from a satellite, just so you know. And when they found him, they had tanks, they had helicopters, they had, like, just so you know, they had tons of helicopters, tons of tanks, they had miniguns, they had armored vehicles, and they had, like, thousands of soldiers, like, getting out and all aiming towards the house, and they had 5 RPGs. Subaru, like, walked outside, just all those lasers were pointed on him. And he was like, I guess this is where I end things. And they were like, don't you mean this is where you're gonna die? And he was like, nope, I'm gonna end all of you. So he just turns into a slime, and, you know, has all these tentacles come out, the octopus tentacles come out of the slime, and they just turn into, like, metal, because he ate some scrap metal. And he just pierces all the armored vehicles, and just fucking picks them up and slams them against them. He fucking destroys everything. The helicopters are shooting him with bullets, he's just eating those bullets. Like, all the bullets, he's just eating them. He's starting to get full, and he realizes if he gets full, he won't be able to eat it all, and his ability will be deactivated. He'll be able to, you know, call on certain abilities at a time, but it'd only be one at a time. He couldn't switch between them after he does that, too. So he'd be stuck with the ability on. So he's very, very worried. He starts dodging the bullets, and they're like, it's affecting him. They start shooting more. They shoot rocket launchers. And he just literally eats one of the rocket launchers, and he gains the ability to cause explosions. But he doesn't know this, so his octopus tentacle, like, slaps the helicopter out of the air. It just fucking explodes. The tentacle explodes off his arm, off his tentacle. Like, the tentacle just fucking explodes. And, yeah, he's, like, regenerating it. Because in his slime form, he can regenerate. But he can't stay in his slime form for a good while after he uses it. So he's really worried because his slime form's starting to wear out and he's starting to turn back into human. And they're all, like, firing still. They still got tons of ammo. They have actual fire rounds and all of that. Yeah, they're shooting with everything they have. And right when he turned back to human form, he's like, well, it looks like I'm gonna die here. And they start all shooting him, and the exact moment they're about to shoot him, all of a sudden these shadow hands come out and grab him. And he's actually awake to see this. And he got pulled through a portal. He just literally blinked once, and all he saw was the ReZero world. He didn't know it was ReZero world, but he was in the middle of an entire crowd, saw all these buildings, and it looks like a Renaissance era to him, like, you know, a fantasy. He was like, wow, so I went to one hellhole to probably a bigger hellhole. He says that out loud, and everyone's looking at him like he's crazy. And he starts laughing maniacally, because he's like happy he survived. And they just ignore him. They're just like, another crazy person. And that's where I'm going to leave off.